When one thinks of Southern California scenery, I doubt waterfalls are something that comes to mind. In general, it's not a region that has a lot of them, but after a good rain in the winter or spring, some beautiful ones begin to form. What I want to do in today's video is count down my top favorite waterfalls in Southern California that I've been able to visit. This isn't taking into account the hiking or difficulty to reach each waterfall, but I will briefly mention trail lengths as it could give you an idea as to what to expect. But I do have video guides on all these places up on the channel, and I'll put a link to those videos in the description for those of you interested. All of the footage used in this video is my own, except for what will be shown as I discuss a handful of honorable mentions, aka waterfalls that I have not yet seen. These shots are by California Through My Lens, which is one of my favorite content creators on YouTube, so go check them out if you haven't already. Sturtevant Falls is a 50 to 75 foot tall waterfall in the San Gabriel Mountains north of Los Angeles. It can be accessed by a close to 3.5 mile hike, though unfortunately it hasn't been available for the past few years as they needed to rebuild the road and trail. Switzer Falls is a series of cascades in the Angeles National Forest that looks to be a great hike. It's a similar length, close to 3.5 miles out and back. However, I've decided to stay away from this one as I've heard car break-ins have become increasingly common. And it's a real shame because this looks like a very beautiful spot. Trail Canyon Falls is just 40 feet tall but is boxed in by these steep cliffs, making the waterfall a particularly noteworthy destination. It's a bit on the longer side, close to 4.5 miles out and back, but it's probably one of the more prominent waterfalls in the area I have yet to visit. Heading east, San Antonio Falls and Big Falls are two sizable cascades in San Bernardino County. The former is roughly 1.5 miles round trip, while the latter is less than a mile. And then the last waterfall I want to mention is rather unofficial because it only flows after an unusual amount of rain, but Millard Falls is technically the tallest waterfall in Southern California when you count it. This is in the Cleveland National Forest, somewhere between 200 and 300 feet tall, and there's no trail to get to it. You'll have to head upstream and bushwhack till you make it to the base, but this is an adventure I do have on my bucket list just because of how unbelievable it looks. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Everything from this point on is 100% my own footage, but you're welcome to use it in your own video with appropriate credit. Number 6 is Eaton Canyon Falls in Los Angeles County. This is one of the most popular waterfalls in Southern California due to its accessibility and the fact that it flows more consistently than a few of the others on this list. That said, I'd recommend you visit after a good rain so you can see it with the flow volume that we did. The falls are only 40 feet tall, but because of the time of year I visited, it looked larger than that. Not to mention the towering mountains and cliffs around it were a great compliment. The most popular way to access it is via a 3.5 mile out and back trail, but this can be reduced to just over 1.5 miles as I state in my video on it. This is a great peaceful spot and it solely ranks at the bottom due to its competition. Number 5, Millard Falls, also in Los Angeles County. This waterfall is located in a stunning area in the Angeles National Forest and looks nothing like what I'd expect from Southern California. It's likely the most approachable hike on this list, with it being just 1.2 miles round trip, but it still contains many creek crossings like basically every hike on here. Millard Falls is roughly 50 to 60 feet tall and has a unique appearance to it because of a boulder that splits the water into two streams. For that alone, this is well worth a visit if you're in the area. Up next is by far the most difficult waterfall on this list to access, and that's Black Star Canyon Falls in Orange County. This is actually the only waterfall on this list from OC, and it's one of the most unique I've seen in the region. The height of this waterfall is pretty impressive in of itself, somewhere between 65 and 80 feet tall. But that's not what allows Black Star Canyon Falls to stand out. For me, it was the fascinating shape and appearance, starting with the smaller falls on the left which flow out of a tunnel. Then the main waterfall swirls up in the center and explodes out. The hike to get here is 6.7 miles out and back, though 3/4 of this is a flat, unmaintained service road. The real difficult stuff begins once you enter the canyon, and from there it is a brutal uphill grind to the waterfall. It's well worth the effort once you see it, but don't underestimate the journey to get to this one. Number 3, Three Sisters Falls in San Diego County. This impressive 3-tiered waterfall is the only one that can only be accessed by a non-paved road. From there, it's a 4.1 mile out and back hike that I found to be relatively simple, especially because it's the only trail on this list that doesn't incorporate water crossings. The cumulative height of this waterfall is estimated to be about 100 feet tall, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were even more than that. The bottom tier isn't anything to shout at, as it's more of a natural slide than a waterfall. But the center and upper tiers are definitely stunning and alone are worth the visit. Heck, just one of these would make for a pretty solid waterfall. Now, some tough decisions needed to be made in order to rank the top 2 spots, but taking silver is Escondido Falls in Los Angeles County. This waterfall is basically all on its own in the Santa Monica Mountains outside of Malibu, but it's well worth the trip for sure. This one is divided into 2 tiers, with most people only seeing the lower falls, which have a drop of 50 feet. This is already pleasant with a fascinating shape and appearance, but it's once you make it to the upper falls where Escondido Falls is in contention for number 1. This requires a difficult uphill scramble that is not recommended by the National Park Service, but I would say it's a must if you think you're capable. It comes in addition to the 3.5-mile out and back hike to the lower falls, but this steals the spotlight with its incredible height of 150 feet. That means together both tiers are 200 feet tall, though even the 150 on the upper falls are alone the highest waterfall in Los Angeles County. The size and scope of Escondido Falls no doubt exceeded expectations, but I do believe there's a more beautiful waterfall in Southern California, and that's Cedar Creek Falls in San Diego County. I've always felt lucky because this is easily the closest waterfall on this list to my home. It's a great hike, 5.4 miles out and back, but still pretty approachable by difficulty, and the falls drop 80 to 100 feet into a large punch bowl. It's boxed in by these incredible rocky cliffs that make this waterfall stand out not just in the region but in the entire state. Its shape is just incredibly picturesque too, and on my second visit it was flowing so hard that the color had turned a yellowish brown. Really such a fascinating display of what Mother Nature can do when you feed this area the rain it needs to flourish. So if you can only visit one waterfall on this list, Cedar Creek Falls is where it's at in my opinion. But hey, that's just my top 6, and I'd be curious as to what other waterfalls you guys would recommend I visit in the future. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Travel Dash for more content like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.